Dan Hooker versus Nasrat Haqparast takes place this weekend on the prelims of UFC 266. At least I hope it does, because we don't actually know if this fight's actually going to be taking place yet. Dan Hooker had some visa complications earlier this week. He's got those fixed. He'll be there a day before the weigh-ins, which is an absolute shambles. But even still, Nasrat Haqparast has some visa issues to fix of his own. We'll see if he can get them done in time to make it to the fight this weekend. I hope this one goes ahead because it's a great matchup in the lightweight division. Number 8 versus an unranked guy. I know that's a weird situation, but Dan Hooker just said, I don't care who it is, I'm on 266. Put me against anyone. They found Nasrat Haqparast. He was on a win streak outside of the rankings. Now he gets his opportunity to jump into the top 10 against Dan Hooker. This is an amazing matchup, and I'm really looking forward to it. I like Dan Hooker's attitude here as well. Just put me in there against anyone. I want to fight this weekend, mainly because Alexander Volkanovski's on the card. Dan Hooker is also at CKB. CKB is based out of New Zealand. They don't like traveling like across the entire world unless it's for a couple of guys at a time, so they can make the most out of it and be as effective as they possibly can at making some money for their boys. Even still, I love this matchup. Lightweight division is always a great division. They always put on good fights, and this is going to be a striking match, so it's going to be an even better one. Dan Hooker, I believe, has got the edge over Nasrat Haqparast here, but it's very dangerous to say because Nasrat, there's so many different situations here. It's an absolute fiesta. I don't know what to say about this matchup. Dan Hooker is like gonna make it to the fight like a day before the weigh-ins, so he's gonna be trying to cut weight on a plane, which is very strange, but hopefully he can make weight. And he's not a small lightweight either, by the way. Like, I know he's mentioned that he doesn't really have to cut too much weight, but he's one of the bigger guys at lightweight. I know he used to fight a featherweight, but even still, he's a big lightweight, so this is going to be a problem. Hopefully he makes weight. Hopefully he gets to the fight, and Nasrat is like, we'll see how that one goes down as well. It's a weird situation, but he's also got some problems as well. Of course, his mother passed away last week. So this is going to be a battle of the mental game. But I'm going to just try and base it on the technical game of striking in MMA, because they're both having a little bit of a mental situation right now. I know a mother dying is a little bit more important than some visa issues, but even still, Dan Hooker is in a complete shambles. They both are, so I think I'm going to just call it a draw with the both of them to just make a prediction video even possible, because this is a very weird one that could really go either way. Dan Hooker, top contender in the lightweight division. If he wins this one, he could move up to number 6 in all honesty, because if Rafael Dos Anjos loses to Islam Makhachev, he's going to move down the rankings, and Tony Ferguson's been a little bit inactive recently, so Dan Hooker, via being active, could actually move up to number 6 here with a win against Nasrat. That would be very good for his career, maybe even call out a Conor McGregor for a comeback fight in March. Who knows? That could be an open matchup for Dan Hooker. They have some history. I think he's even mentioned that he wanted to fight Conor McGregor before. He was on the co-main event of McGregor's card, where he lost to Michael Chandler in his last fight by brutal KO, which is not a good look for Dan Hooker. Usually when you're a guy with an iron jaw who never gets KO'd and then all of a sudden you're lights out like that. Well, he wasn't lights out, but he got put down badly, TKO'd quite badly as well. But something was wrong with Dan Hooker in that fight. He literally circled into an overhand from the get-go, and it was very strange decision making, and his coaches weren't in his corner, and it was a weird situation, but he wanted to be on the card even against Chandler, just to be in the co-main event of a McGregor card, and it didn't work out for him. He got KO'd, but he's taken some time off, which I actually really like, because usually guys rush back in there, but this time Dan Hooker's taken, 9 months off. It was in January of this year, so yeah, very good stuff for Dan Hooker. I think he goes out there and beats Nasrat Haqparast because he's just better than him. He's just a bit better than Nasrat at striking, am I wrong? Like, when I watched a pair of them strike, Dan Hooker's a bit better, and Nasrat Haqparast has a very weird record, because although he is quite highly ranked in the lightweight division, because, I mean, he's 5-6 in his last 6 bouts. 5-1 in his last 6 bouts. He's won 5 of them, lost 1 of them to Drew Dober. He lost his debut in the UFC, but I believe he took that one on short notice, but he had a training camp beforehand, so it wasn't really a short notice bout. He was in shape for a contest. He took on Marcin Held. He was 7-1 at the time, and he lost that fight by unanimous decision. Marcin Held, no pun intended, held him down for the majority of the fight, had some submission attempts, landed some total strikes in certain rounds as well. It was actually a pretty close fight on paper that maybe could have been scored differently, but even still, he lost his debut. debut, regrouped, beat Mark Jacasey, which I believe is his best win in his entire career. Like, I know he's beaten some guys maybe higher up the rankings, but honestly, Mark Jacasey's a real dangerous guy to go out there and outstrike, and he went out there and did it, and I give him tremendous respect for that. But even still, he went on against Thibault Gouti, beat him by unanimous decision, beat Joaquim Silva by a TKO in the second round, a really bad KO as well, put him out cold with an overhand left, flat backwards, Joaquim Silva completely done, I guess that's his name rather than Joaquim. Drew Dober put him out cold after that, but then he's regrouped himself, beat Alex Munoz, who was 6-0 at the time, who since went on to beat Luis Pena but got robbed of a decision, so Alex Munoz is not a bad fighter. Since then he's beaten Rafa Garcia, who was 12-0. I know on paper those wins look good, but Nasrat's wins have not aged well. They really haven't, because Munoz, even though I thought he beat Luis Pena, had a close fight with Luis Pena. You know? And even though Rafa Garcia was 12-0 at the time that Nasrat beat him, and 12-0 is a great record, he has since lost to Chris Gruetzemacher in arguably a more dominant fashion, like like equally as dominant of a fashion. Like, I don't really like those wins and how they've aged, because does that make Nasrat Haqparast at the level of the Chris Gruetzemachers of the world and the Luis Penas of the world? I'm not too sure. He's a young guy though, so there are chances that he is going to improve. 26 years of age, but even his early part of his career is a little bit suspect. Goes pro, loses his debut, takes on an 0-1 guy. Time for a jump up, takes on an 0-1 guy. Time for a jump up, takes on an 0-0 guy. Time for a jump up, takes on an 0-0 guy. Time for a jump up, takes on an 0-0 guy. Time for a jump up, takes on an 0-0 guy. Do you get the point? Takes on an 8-5 guy. I wonder if this guy was on a losing streak at the time. Let's find out. He better not have been. Is he actually on a losing streak at the time here? No. But he was like 2-2 in his last 4 fights against not so good competition. But even still, I'm going to be picking Dan Hooker here. The competition levels just cannot be compared. Paul Felder, Ally Quinta, James Vick. Hello? The GOAT. Like, I mean, we're talking about different levels here. Gilbert Burns by first round KO. These are wins that have aged really well. First round KO against Jim Miller. And I know that sounds not so good because Jim Miller is an older guy in the sport. But Jim Miller is still about beating a lot of these up-and-comers. So it does look quite good that he separated himself from those guys and KO'd Jim Miller in the first round. He also himself has a win over Mark Jacasey by third round guillotine choke. And a win over Ross Pearson as well. I just think it's night and day here in terms of striking. The fight with Dustin Poirier. The only question I have is, can Nasrat Haqparast KO Dan Hooker in the first round? I don't think he can, because if you look at the guys that Nasrat has KO'd in his career so far in the UFC, like, it's Joaquim Silva, and Joaquim Silva just got KO'd by Rick Glenn in the first round. Like, he's a pretty chinny guy, in all honesty. He's not really had a good chin in his career. He's been KO'd a couple of times now, and it doesn't really look so amazing that Nasrat even took him to the second round. And by the way, am I going to forget about this or am I not? Did he lose the first round to Joaquim Silva? I believe he did, and he got outstruck in that round as well, only to come back in the second and drop him. Yes, he did. He got outstruck by Joaquim Silva in the first round of their fight. I'm going with Dan Hooker here, guys. I also believe that Nasrat Haqparast is not going to be in the right mindset to go out there like a savage and switched on early enough to get a KO in the first round. And I don't believe he's going to want to do that either, because last time he tried to get a little bit active in the early part of a fight was against Drew Dober, and he got put out cold in that fight really badly. So I think there's going to be some bad memories there. He's in a bad frame of mind as well. I don't see him going out there and starting completely switched on like Dan Hooker maybe will. And I just see Dan Hooker cruising his way to... I think he's going to KO him, actually. I'm going to go with a second round KO for Dan Hooker here. No. I'm going to go late first round KO for Dan Hooker here. I think he can actually KO Nasrat Haqparast here. I think this is a great matchup for him. Great leg kicks from Dan Hooker are going to work a treat here against Nasrat. Nasrat's a little bit more of a boxer, likes to use his hands, likes to open up with combinations. I think Dan Hooker's going to be good at dropping that calf early, going shin to shin early, smashing apart those legs, weakening the base, and then coming upstairs with some other shots as well. I'll just call it like a lead shot KO, like a big left hook coming forward, like he landed against James Vick. And I think he's going to land that same shot against Nasrat Haqparast, because I just think he's at a different level of striking. I know this is like a competitive match because Nasrat is like a bit of a touted prospect in the lightweight division, but I don't think he's at the level of a Dan Hooker whatsoever. Like, maybe Dan Hooker has a bit of a weird time because of the weight cut and maybe some jet lag or something like that, but I truly believe if even a B tier level of Dan Hooker shows up, he's going to have a good time outstriking Nasrat Haqparast here. I mean, look at the Al Iaquinta fight. There's certain fights people don't really take into consideration in Dan Hooker's career. Like, he schooled Al Iaquinta in their fight. Dropped him in that fight as well pretty badly. Hurt him pretty badly in another moment in that fight as well. I think he can go out there and land a big shot on Nasrat, who hasn't got the best of chins. And again, get scrappy with guys that I don't believe Dan Hooker would get scrappy with. I truly believe Dan Hooker would KO Rafa Garcia in the first round with a knee up the middle. I think he's that level of striker. And again, the Dustin Poirier fight sticks out in my mind. You know, it really does. Like, I picked Dan Hooker, if you don't know. And I love saying this because it was so close. I picked Dan Hooker to KO Dustin Poirier as an underdog in the second round, at the end of the second round, with a knee up the middle to a TKO finish. It was so close to going exactly that way, except Dustin Poirier was saved by the bell. If there was an extra 10 seconds in round 2, Dan Hooker just beat Dustin Poirier, and he's fighting Conor McGregor, and maybe he's now got a title shot after McGregor snaps his leg on him. I mean, I don't see this one going against Dan Hooker. I think he's that level of striker. I think he's much better than Nasrat Haqparast. This one could backfire, but I'm pretty confident Dan Hooker also leads in a couple of stats that are important other than defense, which I will give Nasrat credit for. Good defense in his fights, but I don't think he's fought anywhere near the level of striker that Dan Hooker is. A lot of his opponents have just been whiffing at air, nowhere near the target whatsoever. So it's kind of hard to say that Nasrat has great defense, even though his stat is 74%. Striking accuracy is in favor of Dan Hooker, and again, against Paul Felder, against Al Iaquinta, against Dustin Poirier. You know what I mean? A little bit of a higher level of opponent than Nasrat is used to. And he's got that reach advantage, which is huge here. 3 inches of reach in a stand-up match in the lightweight division. 75-inch reach for Dan Hooker here. 6 feet tall. He's taller. He's got the leg reach. He's got the hand reach, or the arm reach, sorry. And in a stand-up fight, I think that's going to massively benefit him. And I'm going to go with Dan Hooker here. And plus, he's still young, Dan Hooker. I believe he's 31. 31 years of age. If he wins this one, maybe he can turn around quickly enough for the Israel Adesanya card or something like that. Or if he wants to wait for McGregor, if he does want to try out his chances, welcoming back Conor McGregor into the lightweight division, maybe he'll wait until March of next year or something. But Dan Hooker still has maybe one more chance at a run towards the belt. And I think it could start against Nasrat Haqparast this weekend. Hopefully this fight goes down. It's a great matchup in the lightweight division. I don't really want to commit to anything too much, and I don't want to get my emotions into it too much and get too excited about it, because we could get a phone call. I'm not going to get a phone call, but we could get a notification tomorrow that says that Nasrat isn't even in the fight anymore. But I trust Dan Hooker to get this one in the bag. He's got good feints, good stand-up, keeps range very well, and Nasrat just doesn't seem to handle that too good. Even in certain fights where he gets a bit close with Rafa Garcia and he gets a little bit close with Mark Jacasey as well. I think Dan Hooker's got this one in the bag at range, and that 3 inches of reach, 3.5 inches of reach, is going to be a huge benefit for him as well. So I'm going with Dan Hooker. The loser of this matchup is in a terrible position, a really bad position. If Nasrat loses, his mum died, and it's going to be a very sad moment, and I don't know if he's going to rebound, because if he loses by KO, it's been 2 now in his career, and maybe he won't resurge to get back to where he wants to be in his career moving forward. It's going to be quite an emotional wreck if he does lose. And if Dan Hooker loses, he slips right out of those rankings. But I tell you this, man, I told you. If RDA loses to Islam Makhachev, he's moving down. Ferguson's inactive. Dan Hooker might get number 6 from this. And then he's looking at top 5 opponents. And then he's looking at title shots. And it can be that quick. Within a year, Dan Hooker back on top. One of my favourite personalities in MMA. Savage for continuing with this fight. Hopefully it all goes well and he gets paid this weekend. We'll see how things go. And hopefully he gives a little bit of momentum towards Alexander Volkanovski, who I've also picked in the main event, because I feel like that would actually cheer up Volkanovski a little bit, seeing his teammate win earlier on in the night. I know that Israel Adesanya's teammate lost on the card when he fought Jan Blachowicz, and then he kind of had a bit of a loss there to Jan Blachowicz as well. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.